Okay, and welcome back to another rhythm guitar playing lesson here. So today what we're going to do is we're going to add even more rhythm to your playing. So far we've covered adding more rhythm and offbeats. So today's progression is going to be E minor to G to D to A. And I'm going to choose to do 2 beats on each chord, so it will sound like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So lots of songs use that progression, so quite useful if you know which songs they are. So the next thing is that I'm going to remind you of some of those principles that we've talked about in the previous lessons. So if I wanted to label these, I could label the points as beginning and end. So it will sound like this: beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end. Okay. Now, if I wanted to add more to my playing, all I'm going to do is add more on random points, so it will sound like this. Okay, and if I want to add offbeats to that, I can throw in offbeats again at random points, not really thinking about it, just kind of when they happen. So okay, so that brings us up to where we are today. So to add even more rhythm in, what we're going to do first is we're going to take the more layer, which was the quavers or eighth beats. And so far we've been strumming them up. Today we're going to convert them and we're going to strum them also down. So we're going to add more rhythm to our playing, but we're going to down strum everything. So let's try that. I'll count you in. Actually, I'm going to do it first and then you can play along with me. So it's going to go like this. Okay, so now I'll count you in and you can play along with me. 3, 4. Okay, so the even more rhythm layer, which is what people tend to call semi-quavers or 16th beats, happens in between the more speed. Okay, so what that does in terms of our labeling is it means we have to get a little bit more specific about what points we are within those various beats of the bar. So beforehand we labeled it beginning and end if it was a 2-beat. So this time we're going to label it as beginning 1 and beginning 2, and then we have end 1 and end 2, and that gives us a little bit more points to play with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the progression again, but this time I'm going to add even more rhythm to everything, okay? And it will sound like this. Okay, so I just added even more to every single chord, every single beat. Okay, you can try that with me. 3, 4. Okay, so this time what we're going to do is we're going to add even more to beginning 1 for every single chord. Now, it sounds a little bit odd when you add the even more layer of speed if you don't interact it with the more layer of speed. Okay, so if you don't interact your 16ths with your 8ths, your different speeds here, it sounds a little bit like something's missing. So this is what it sounds like when you add even more into beginning 1, but also add just after it more. So it sounds like this. Okay, so next you can actually add this same idea to different points of beginning 1, beginning 2, end 1, end 2. So we're this time going to add even more rhythm to beginning 2 to every chord. So it's going to sound like this. Okay, so I'll let you do that along with me. 3, 4. So you've guessed it, if you can do it for the, you can do even more for beginning 1 and beginning 2, you can also add even more to end 1 and end 2, or just one of those. So we're going to add even more to every chord, but to end 1. Okay, so it's going to sound like this. And I'll play that again. This time you can play along with me. 3, 4. Okay, and lastly, we're going to add even more to the end 2. So it's going to sound like this. That one's probably more familiar to you. So let's try that together. 3, 4. Now, as you guessed it, you can basically add even more rhythm to any of these points, beginning 1, beginning 2, end 1 and end 2, completely randomly when you want. And that's really the point about rhythm guitar, is that you don't really want to be thinking about this. You want to be just understanding that even more rhythm exists, that the 8th level exists, 16th level exists, but then just kind of feeling for your way. So with that in mind, I'm just going to randomly play even more rhythms with the E minor, G, D and A, not thinking about where I put it, just adding it in when I feel. Okay, so it sounds like this. Okay, so hopefully you understand this idea of even more rhythm, and what I want you to try is just coming up with your own progressions and trying to put the more layer in, the offbeat layer in, and the even more layer of speed in, and then try it with some of your favorite songs. So you don't have to play exactly how the original song was written. You can take a chord progression, whichever one it may be, and try playing around, dancing with the rhythms, because that will give you your own personality when you're playing. If you copy the song exactly to how it is, you'll sound like the guitarist who originally played on that track. But if you want to have your own identity when you're playing a song, then try mixing up the rhythms a little bit and seeing what happens. So I hope that that's helped you with your rhythm playing, and we'll be adding even more offbeat rhythms very soon. So I hope to see you soon, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.